using it? We can't release it.
That's a good question. That one I'm not quite sure.
You can't think of any observable evidence for evolution?
No.
How do you know it's true?
Wrote that too.
It's not scientific. I guess so. So it's unscientific. You can't prove it. Scientific, actually, you could prove it. It could be proven. Just do it for me.
That's hard. I don't know. That's just too broad of a...
Unobservable. That's why you need millions of years.
Yes, exactly.
And they can't even give evidence of the change of climates.
Why? Well, then there isn't one. If they don't give it, then I wouldn't say they love it. I just go on what I've seen and what I've learned from it.
Well, you believe it?
Yeah.
You know, that's cool.
What?
Blind faith.
Blind faith.
Faith is the great excuse to evade the need to think and evaluate evidence. Richard Dawkins.
So even people that believe in evolution are firm in saying, yes, I believe this, I want this, this is what I believe in, have no clue what they're believing. And so hopefully I've proven to you guys that evolution is not scientific, it is a faith. It's actually it requires a lot bigger faith. I believe there's a God that created everything. They believe, in the beginning, nothing. Nothing exploded. And here we have everything. So, do you guys have any questions?
Wait, what was that video again?
Evolution versus God.
Oh.
By Living Waters Ministries, Ray Comfort.
Oh, atheist.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How accurate is carbon dating?
Carbon dating is actually a very, it's a hard thing to answer how accurate it is. For something that is relatively young, it can be relatively accurate. Anything that is older is actually very inaccurate. Radiometric dating, for example, like carbon-14, which is the most common way of using it. Carbon-14 has, the way that they're measuring is that carbon-14 is an element that has a decay rate and it turns into something else. It's radioactive and turns into something else after its half-life. And which I forget what the half-life is. But because of that half-life, you can measure things in the beginning, it goes down and it goes flat. So anything that's beyond about 50,000 years, you cannot measure it. It's impossible to measure. Right. Now, the Bible teaches that the earth isn't that long, but also some other assumptions are made with carbon-14 dating is that it's always, the decay rate is always the same, and we don't know that for sure. Another thing that's assumed is that as we are alive, we absorb carbon-14 in our body, and once we die, we stop absorbing carbon-14 and we start decaying our body so they can measure how old it is after a certain period of time. Well, they assume that the absorption rate has always been the same, and we know for sure that it has not been. And we also assume that carbon-14, the rate of carbon-14 in our environment has always been the same. That's also been proven it's not the case. So there's a lot of assumptions on carbon-14 that they're making that make even dating something that is, say, 1,000-year-old to make that accurately.
So you use it on those fossils, on those signals?
One thing, well, what they're trying to do here is say, with carbon-14, we dated these, but they did not use carbon-14 dating. Mm-hmm. What they did was they looked at the fossil and said, okay, where was that fossil found? What layer was it found on Earth? And they'll say, okay, well, that layer has to be this old, so that fossil is that old. Right. But then they ask, okay, how old is that layer? Well, what kind of fossils are found at that layer? Right. Okay, then it's got to be that old. So they are referring to things that's all estimates and guesses. There really isn't any scientific proof in measuring how old that is according to how they're wanting it, because they're going around in circles. Because they're using one to date the other, and they're using that to date this. So they're basically saying, well, it has to be this old, so it's that old, kind of thing.
But if science based on pure truth, why they lean on it so much that it's not, you can't lean on that. Is it considered a pseudoscience?
It's part of it is historical science, in the sense of you interpret things on the way you view the world. And so if you believe that evolution has to be true, then anything you see must be interpreted through evolution. And you're not open to other stuff. But if you believe that the Bible is true, then everything has to be interpreted through what the Bible says. And actually science backs up that.
Look what you did.
Science actually backs up what the Bible says, where it does not back up what evolution teaches. So there's that in that. Yeah.
The dinosaur bones that you have here is, if it's the 6-day creation, how does the dinosaurs fit into the whole creation?
Well, dinosaurs are animals. Actually, dinosaurs are lizards. If you go and look through history, dinosaur is actually a relatively new term. It was, the word dinosaur got invented in about 1850 or thereabouts. And before then, they were actually referred to as something completely different, as dragons. And if you're looking at the Bible, and the Bible actually has quite a few mentions of dinosaurs. Two of the more famous ones is the behemoth and the leviathan. So the Bible has them in there. There's another description for a group of animals throughout the Bible. I have to find it and I have to get it because I keep forgetting what the name is. But there's another term for a group of animals in the Bible that we don't know what they are, and it is assumed that it is the dinosaur kind. And they were created, the flying ones were created when God created the birds. The ones in the ocean were created when God created the animals in the ocean. The land-dwelling dinosaurs were created on the 6th day when God created every animal on land. And then he created man. So they were created during that whole process. And yes, they were on the ark. And then you ask, well, dinosaurs are huge. How would they fit on the ark? Well, if you know anything about lizards, lizards grow as long as they live. And so if you can imagine a 30-year-old crocodile or alligator, which we have plenty of in Florida, they grow as long as they live. And a 30-year-old one could be about 30 feet. In the Bible, it describes man living to be about 10 times as long as it does today. So today we're about 90 years old. So the average age is a little bit younger, but people live to go even over 100. Pre-flood, they lived up to be 969, Methuselah, the oldest recorded living human. So imagine a crocodile living 10 times as long. Instead of living 30 years, it lives 300 years. How big would it be? Well, that's where you get your dinosaurs. The largest dinosaur egg ever found was no bigger than about this, the size of an ostrich egg. So every single dinosaur, even the Brachiosaurus, which by the way, that's a toe bone of a Brachiosaurus. So they were big, but a baby Brachiosaurus that just came out of the egg was probably about this big, the size of a chicken. And so Noah didn't have to take the big, huge, 300-year-old Brachiosaurus. He could take the 3, 4, 5-year-old Brachiosaurus. Bonuses in that, they'll live longer, they'll produce more children, which is the whole purpose of bringing them in the first place, and they'll eat a whole lot less. So, and also, they've looked into it. There's a whole other teaching on this, but the Bible says that Noah had to bring 2 of each kind of animal. So he didn't have to bring the Great Dane, he didn't have to bring the Chihuahua, thankfully, and he didn't have to bring all the other different dogs. He just had to bring 2 dogs. If the dog kind was considered a clean animal, then it was 7. but he didn't have to bring that many. And they've done, I have all teaching on this, but basically all of those animals fit in the ark, and they've done that same classification on dinosaurs, and there are only 50 kinds, as they can classify them into different kinds that are all the same, which means that Noah only had to take the 100 dinosaurs onto the ark, and the vast majority of fossils that are found of dinosaurs are smaller fossils. The average size of a dinosaur is smaller than a sheep. So he did not have to bring a huge dinosaur, and that's where kind of dinosaurs fit in. They were animals like anything else, and if you do some study in on it, there are actually signs that there probably are dinosaurs still alive today. They're just very rare and hard to find, if they are able to find them. But they, in recent history, they have found it. In the 50s or 60s, a Japanese trawler got a dinosaur carcass in its net.